Welcome to the CoinRock show. We are going to do an end of week recap. Hope everyone is doing well. Let's push this to all the different groups. Let's have a look here. It looks like we are good to go. Type in 1 in the chat here if you can hear me and see me. Should see the screen too. We have some green today. Nice way to end the week. So let's push this to all the different groups. Welcome everyone. And we have a lot of, there you go. We have a lot of, actually a lot of news. What's interesting with crypto is even when the market sucks and the price is down, in this case, Bitcoin is up over the last few days, actually. I think we just hit, what is it here? Let's have a look. We're at 84K today, but even when the market is kind of slow, there's always news. That's what's very interesting about this market right now is that some people, crypto is so binary. There is no middle ground. It's always like we're so back, it's so dead, or it's all over, and there is no middle ground. That being said, what's very interesting in this market, this cycle, is that things flip much quicker from bull to bear, especially in the last few weeks. And it's been very interesting to see some of the even large, I talked about this the other day, large crypto accounts, CT accounts, who did well in the previous cycles and kind of fumbled this cycle. There's a lot of frustration, of course, on the timeline. Is it all over? It's same old. We'll see. Our view, everyone around me, even those who are more on the bearish side, basically are seeing, everyone is looking at the cocktail. We talked about the Kingmaker trade. Both interest rates, something to look for in the coming days, the coming week or so. There's going to be more and more disruption in a way by the Trump administration, and that coupled with injection QE in the market. Gold just crossed $3,000 for the first time ever, which is interesting. And of course, all the Bitcoin bears were like, oh well, if Bitcoin was digital gold, we should be at all-time high. I think it's very easy to dunk on Bitcoin right now, and Bitcoin will once again rise up and make Peter Schiff cry, because he always whines about the price. Now he's very happy about it. So for those who don't know, Peter Schiff is a gold bug, gold advocate. Very funny character too on social media. Loves trolling the Bitcoin community and crypto. Has always been true to his persona. I would be shocked if he doesn't own crypto or Bitcoin, either directly or indirectly. So either holds Bitcoin himself or invests in funds that own Bitcoin and crypto. I'd be very surprised. He's a smart guy. That being said, smart people make dumb decisions, right? We talked about Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors of all time, who literally did not buy into Apple for decades, and who basically confessed to not really taking the time, or to not looking into tech and looking into Apple in this case, because he didn't end up investing a lot in Apple, but much later than he could have. Even smart people make dumb decisions or pass on big opportunities. So that being said, welcome to the show. It is Friday, notoriously slow all across. Fridays, one thing is, if you're doing biz dev, business development, if you're in sales, you definitely want to avoid reaching out to people on Friday. It's usually the worst day to reach out because people are already mentally checked out and partying. Whether they go to the club is another question, but they are gone mentally. They're the weekend already starts on Friday. Wild, but that's how it is. I was actually on a phone call on a Zoom about 2 hours ago, and I was asked, "Hey, what do you have planned for the weekend tomorrow?" I'm like, I mean, we'll do something fun with the wife, but days are you reach a point also when you're an entrepreneur, where the days you're always on vacation and you're always at work, but you always have flexibility. I will say crypto, and I said this, I say this very openly, it is probably the most exhausting and tiring industry I have ever seen. It Because of the nature of crypto, and it never sleeps. There's no on and off in the market. It's 24/7, and also it's a much more relentless pace, I will say, and so it is much more tiring. So you actually need to create these spaces of kind of taking a step back and quote touching grass. We had a CoinRock paddle event. Do we have the I don't know if the I don't know if the I don't think we have the events page up yet, but probably next week. We had a CoinRock paddle event 2-3 weeks ago, and Will from so Crypto Insights UK, shout out to Will, very cool guy. He also, he's been in crypto forever too, and we talked about this, that you have to manufacture days off, times off. You have to force yourself to step away from the screen. Otherwise, it's an industry that's very prone to grinding you down and to exhausting you, because it never sleeps, especially when you're on the he's more on the content creation side. You know, extremely super nice guy. I highly recommend everyone follow him. A very nice guy, and it's when you create content, there's always news happening, and we are in this too, by the way. Like I literally am creating more content than many KOLs in the industry over the last 2 weeks, and we'll keep doing this because we do these shows every single day. So Matthias is the KOL right now. It's funny because a year and a half ago, I was like, oh, I really don't want to be quote famous in the industry. I have no, I never set out to build quote fame in the industry. I just like the end result of I like the challenge of building something. That's why I quote came back out of retirement to build in crypto. But yeah, doing so much content, you actually have to, because the market moves all the time. I selected right before this this live stream, I was like, okay, I really want to keep this down to like under an hour. I'm going to force myself today, guys, to be under 60 minutes. The problem is we always end up between like an hour and 15 and an hour and 20, an hour and a half. So 1:15 and 1:30. I'm going to force myself, but I was going through the new articles, and there's like 15 interesting pieces of news today, so we'll see how long this takes. But I'm gonna commit to ending the show within 60 minutes, and there will be shows where we go on for like 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. We've done that with the CoinRock OGs. We've done easily 3 to 5 hour shows or streams, so we'll do those too. I actually, fun story, when I was doing my very first webinars, because we live streams were before Web3, they were called so in Web3 it's called doing an AMA or a live stream. Way back when, it was called doing just a webinar or a teleconference. And so the very first, when I started doing webinars in 2008, yes, 2008, I actually started in 2007 with audio conference calls, because video streaming was just so bad. It was like 3 pixels on the screen. You couldn't see anything. And there was a company. What was the name of the company? Something streaming. The very first service I used to live stream audio only was, I think it was called Audio Conference or Audio Teleconference, or something only audio, basically. And then I remember organizing like a 12-hour stream video like this for 12 hours, where I talked about marketing, direct response marketing, advertising, positioning, branding, email marketing, affiliate marketing, because that's where I come from. And so we'll do those mad streams at some points, especially when the market turns bullish again. It'll be fun. That being said, Friday, end of the week, we won't be streaming tomorrow and this weekend. So this weekend we'll be back on Monday. I put together a bunch of so I have 1, 2, 3. I see we have about 12 to 15 articles here that came that popped up on CoinRock Media. Let's have a look at this. So overall, the market is doing much better today. But that being said, choppy, right? I mean, it's not like we broke past 100K again. What was interesting, just selecting the headlines and the stories I wanted to cover today, is the mix of what we've been talking for weeks on the show, which is mid to long term very bullish, short term uncertain, choppy, bearish. So we'll talk about that too. I was on another Zoom call today with someone who's extremely well connected. Many of you know him, and he'll be on the show at some point too. Very, very cool guy. And we talked about the same thing. It's there's not much to look forward to at this point, and at the same time, there's a lot of very bullish news that's happening. So that being said, let's go and have a look at XRP. Always a hot topic, XRP. So XRP gets so much hate because it's kind of a meme. It's become a meme too, right? Will the banks really use Ripple? God knows. I mean, it's been a narrative for years now. It's become a meme in itself. So it's like let's call it like a bank meme, like a financial meme. So I think ultimately a lot of these projects are memes, right? Because you believe in an idea that's actually not tangible or not tangible yet. And so I like the idea. I don't remember who said this, but like basically, the majority of projects are memes. And so this is interesting. So that being said, XRP gets so much hate. I'm very happy they actually beat the SEC or were not defeated by the SEC, because it is bullish for the industry. Even if you hate XRP, you have to understand that every lawsuit won against the SEC is a win and sets a precedent. So will XRP do well when we see the next leg up? Absolutely yes. Since reaching a seven-year high of 340 on January 16, which is 2 months ago, XRP has traded within a descending triangle pattern. Yes, we've seen this, right? So it was stuck between 50 to 80 cents. Then it peaked at $3, 340. And it will, so interesting, the recent DFSA, Dubai Financial Services Authority approval has injected fresh optimism into the market, positioning XRP for a bullish move in the coming weeks. This, of course, depends on the overall markets. So, it's something that it is a given that XRP will do well. It has a massive base of holders. Mindshare is huge. One of the most famous cryptos, whether you like it or not, is irrelevant. People know XRP. It has a kind of old TradFi narrative to it, because they're going to partner with banks, and everything will happen. It will replace the SWIFT system. It's a great narrative. And so it lends actually credibility to the project, and especially for normies, right? You guys who've been here for years, you know that the probability is actually very low. Maybe they pull it off. I don't know. We'll see, right? The future is stranger things have happened. That being said, it's a great idea. It's a great idea, right? We will replace the banking system, or in a way, the banking system will run thanks to XRPs or Ripple. We'll see. Zach says most XRP holders can't be satisfied with a $5 to $10 XRP. They need $10,000 per coin. It was so good, by the way. I started seeing those the reels a few weeks ago. XRP to 10,000. Unbelievable. Like, just like, and the amount of views and shares and likes those reels got was wild. And again, why not? I mean, ultimately, many of these projects are memes, right? They're ideas that most of them will never materialize into anything. But the idea is strong. The big idea, like we call it in marketing, the big idea is very strong. So legal proceedings with the SEC nearing resolution. This is what we want. Whether you hate XRP or not, whether you love or hate it, is irrelevant. You want to see crypto projects beat, especially in this case. I mean, this is not FTX, right? This is not this is not a criminal. There is no criminal intent here to defraud investors or to steal from people. So this is very bullish. Again, I think XRP does well. They just got approval here, as we can see, Dubai Financial Services Authority, allowing it to offer regulated crypto payment services in the UAE. XRP pumped by 6%. I have no doubt that XRP does well, just because of how much mind share it has and how famous it is. Simple as that. It's on so many old school, people trade on DEXs, yes, but millions of people just trade on Coinbase and Binance and even traditional brokerages that offer 5 coins. And of the 5, there's Bitcoin, Litecoin, XRP, sometimes Solana, and like the old Dino coins, Algo. What else? Those are the main ones from like like sometimes Chili's, if they want to have like a gaming one, they'll have like Axie. And that's it. So XRP is buyable, can be bought on many of these old school centralized exchanges. So it will do well. This is interesting. Russia uses Bitcoin and USDT for oil trades with China and India. So remember a few years ago when the Ukraine they call it the special military operation, Russia-Ukraine. When that started, what was interesting is, of course, Russia and many hundreds of Russian businessmen were forced to, well, either had their assets seized by the West. In the case, for example, of Roman Abramovich, who is the owner of Chelsea, the Chelsea Football Club, soccer, for my American friends here, the Chelsea Soccer Club in London, he was forced to sell the club. It's retarded. I mean, he bought the club when it was, I mean, he came to London in the late 90s, early 2000s. Chelsea was like, in London, you have, I think, 4 or 5 teams. You have Arsenal, Aston Villa, I think, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Chelsea, of course. I think maybe 1 or 2 more. And Chelsea was way behind, Arsenal and Manchester United, even Newcastle United. Tottenham, of course. Tottenham, yes. How many London teams, Sharam? 6? And so Chelsea was like a mid to bottom of the table team. He came in, he made his money in Russia. Very interesting story too, Abramovich. And he bought the club, invested a lot, billions of dollars in player transfers, staff. He rebuilt the stadium, and he contributed to the UK economy. And so the UK basically said, "Hey, you have to sell the club." Why? I mean, he wasn't the cause of the Ukraine and Russian conflict. So anyway, side note, but the West seized billions of dollars of assets from Russian either oligarchs or Russian investors, Russian businessmen, businesswomen. And so, of course, when you do that, so Shram says 7 London teams. Yeah, that's crazy. Like a third of, I think, so 25 teams in the Premier League. So that's like a third of them are in London. And so, of course, when you block a large economy, one of the top global economies from the SWIFT system, and you block them from banking, and So I'll give you an example, right? So several of my companies, we've hired and worked with Russian developers for years. I have great relations with Russians. I play tennis with Russians. I have Russian friends. I have Ukrainian friends. And we've hired over the years. We had many Russian contractors, and overnight we could not pay them. Like, we literally could not pay them by traditional like wire transfers. So it was a mess, right? And the problem is some of them could not open different bank accounts in Russia anymore. So we had to literally let go of them because we could not pay them. Of course, crypto is one option, but it's not always easy for them to get crypto accounts. And so it was a real problem. It's a bit easier now, but of course, when you block big economies from trading globally, they're going to find solutions. Crypto is one of them. BRICS nations are and the push for de-dollarization. So this was big in the last 2 years. So the BRICS countries uniting, just seeing how Biden was leading the U.S. or not leading the U.S. and just finding different ways of transacting. So nothing new, but every now and then you see these headlines come up. It's just part of the big economies will always find ways to do business. I'd say the problem with this is it's a tool for the West, for like European anti-crypto and of course American anti-crypto entities and agencies to say, oh, Russia bad, crypto use equals crypto is bad. That's the headline, right? So it's such an easy thing to sell to the public, to the the uneducated masses who have no idea what the blockchain is, what crypto is, and they put Russia in the bad box, crypto in the bad box, and selling oil, overcoming or kind of going around sanctions, and that's how they kind of fud crypto. It's been happening for years. There's nothing we can do against this is literally a result of bad management from the West towards Russia. So also backfired big time because European energy prices have skyrocketed since they did that. So the people who actually ended up suffering are like citizens of Germany and a lot of Western European countries who had to pay more for gas. So not good at all. Shram says Biden forced the BRICS to come together essentially by using the dollar as a bargaining chip. That was a bad call for the world reserve currency. Yeah, very bad. Everyone unites around a common enemy. If you piss enough people off, people get together, other countries get together and find other solutions. Did we talk about this one? No, this is another headline. Another Ripple. Jesus, the XRP fans are happy today. Ripple and the SEC near settlements as XRP faces potential reclassification. So again, this is very bullish. If you hold XRP, you should be happy because this is yet another one. I actually saw this on Twitter the other day that there's a string of potential bullish catalysts for XRP. This is one of them. And here, Scoop, 2 well-placed sources tell me that the SEC versus Ripple case is in the process of wrapping up and could be over soon. My understanding is that the delay in reaching an agreement is due to Ripple's legal team negotiating more favorable terms regarding the August district court ruling, which imposed a $125 million fine on the company and included a permanent injunction preventing the company from selling XRP to institutional investors. The argument, I'm told, is that if the new SEC leadership, remember the previous SEC lead left in January, and the new team basically just wants to get rid of all these irrelevant lawsuits. The argument is that if the new SEC leadership is wiping the enforcement slate clean for all previously targeted crypto firms because it believes regulatory clarity will resolve the underlying issue, Why should Ripple still be penalized? Makes sense. All these lawsuits were brought by the previous SEC administration under the idea, under the umbrella that tokens and coins are securities. And so I completely understand the argument of Ripple's lawyers saying, since your stance on the whole on the asset has changed, we should not be paying this, because right now, if you change the rules, why should we back pay for this fine that as of today would not be an issue? Accepting the Torres ruling, so Judge Torres, as it stands, would mean that Ripple is essentially agreeing to admit to wrongdoing, but now the SEC itself is seemingly unsure whether any wrongdoing occurred. Again, if they say that, if they say that tokens are not securities, or that in this case Ripple did not sell securities, why pay the fine? There's no real playbook. Remember, this is what I've been saying for since the beginning here. There's no playbook for this kind of thing, which could explain why this case is taking longer. This is essential for all other projects. This is why, as an industry, you want the SEC to lose. In this case, you want XRP to win. So they would be reclassified as a payment network, which again makes sense if they can pull off a real payment network, or a real, that's, like I said, the big idea, right? That Ripple will be basically replacing / integrating the Swift, or with the Swift system. And again, SEC weighs XRP's commodity status. So we'll see. Very bullish again. The fact that they're even discussing this is bullish, right? In the previous administration, they just sent Wells notices and lawsuits and civil cases to everyone. So this is very bullish again. Let's have a look. We have 33 minutes before I need to wrap this up. Another one, Vermont drops, and we have these headlines every day. Vermont drops Coinbase staking case aligns with the SEC decision. So this is something that's very, very, what's the word? I'd say very common in the US that you don't see in Europe or other countries, in the sense that you have a federal agency, which is the SEC, right? And so they make a decision, they rule on something, and then you have the state who opens another case and rules on something else. So then the question is, who do you listen to? Is it the federal? Usually the federal is above the state. And so in this case, in a major shift for crypto regulation, Vermont has officially dropped its legal challenge against Coinbase's staking services, citing the SEC's recent decision to abandon its case. Like I said, every time when the SEC does something, what's happening now is that states are following. This is what we want. We don't want the opposite. We don't want the SEC being harsh on crypto and then the state saying, oh, the SEC fucked you up, we're going to fuck you up twice, right? So this is what we want. This is, again, the industry wants clarity. So CoinRock is in the industry, of course. We invest, we build, we talk to regulators, we talk to lawyers. We can align with everything and anything. It's fine. Like, we will do what we need to do and what is needed to launch projects and do things the right way. The only thing is, you actually need to tell us what the right way is. And so, again, clarity is what everyone wants here. So this is good. The SEC dropped the case, and now the states are following the SEC's lead, that's how it should be. If you have a federal agency, the federal agency should be overseeing everything and should have the final say, which is something that you did not have in the previous SEC, with the previous SEC administration. And so this is very good. Again, every day we see these headlines. Next one. This is interesting to see. I just wanted to show you guys the level of fear in the market. And you've seen this on the timeline. The level of fear when it comes to just people panicking. you know, in business or in life in general, you tend to panic when you're either overexposed or underprepared, or you just haven't done your homework. Everyone I know who has conviction has not panic sold. Selling is one thing. Reducing a position is fine. Big funds have been, I saw an article today actually about hedge funds reducing positions in the stock market. That's okay if it's done in a strategic way, after a strategic decision, right? After you've actually thought of what you're doing. There is nothing worse, and this is very, very crypto, right? Panic selling. You see price go down. Oh my God, I need to sell. I was all in on, I was leveraged up. I was all in on this XYZ coin. And so you take a loss, right? Or you don't take a loss and then you sell a week later with a bigger loss. So if you are strategic about the way you buy and the way you sell, you should not panic sell. Simple as that. It's fine. Like reducing a position is fine. You should do it. If you have trouble sleeping at night, you should reduce your position. That's kind of a rule of thumb. That being said, panic selling is retarded, because like 90% of investors, whether it's stocks or crypto is actually probably higher, lose money in the markets, right? You can find these stats all over the internet. Traditional, like if you use apps like Robinhood or eToro, they'll tell you, like in the terms and conditions, just so you know, the average user, actually sometimes they'll even be forced to disclose how many users on their platform lose money. It's 75, 80, 90% of users on the platform lose money, for example. So the majority end up losing. So if you don't want to be like the majority of losers, you have to think differently. And so this is why I'm saying, think strategically in the way you buy. So don't FOMO in at the top. Of course, we never know when the top is, but you always want to, you never want to be a victim and forced to sell and be a slave to your emotions. That's like rule number one in business. Of course, easier said than done, especially if you're new to investing, or if you don't have time to be in the markets all day and look at the markets all day. Like, that's all we do. So of course we just have access to more information than the average person who has a job and is commuting and can be online all the time. That being said, panic selling here, the headline is, so Bitcoin panic selling wipes out over $100 billion in speculative losses in 6 weeks. This should not be happening. Again, very different if you're trading and you say, okay, based on my TA, Bitcoin's at 78 and I'm thinking I can scalp at 78.5, or I'm swinging long to like 82. Very different. But panic selling and panic buying are big problems for the majority of investors. Recent data from on-chain analytics firm CryptoQuant reveals that Bitcoin speculators have suffered over $100 billion in losses. This is not bullish for investors, right? So let's have a look at this. Yeah. I mean, the colors paint the picture, right? So again, nothing wrong with reducing a position, but panic selling should never happen. Should never happen. And if it's happened, if you've panic sold, please take a step back and think of what led you to maybe overbuying or not having enough cash on hand or enough stables. And so you don't make that mistake again, because you should never be panic selling. If anything, this is the best time. I tweeted this the other day, actually today maybe. This is the best time to actually start buying and DCAing into projects that you believe that you believed in and bought higher. If you still believe in the project, the team, this is when you should be buying, not panic selling, or at least not panicking. So, again, everyone, like usually what you feel is the emotion you feel when you feel like, oh shit, it's going down, I need to sell. Taking a step back, again, unless if you have to pay your bills, you have a medical emergency and something urgent comes up, sure. But usually you have to do what your emotions, like the opposite of what you feel. That's why most investors lose money, is because they usually follow emotions. Oh, it's going to do another 500x, I'm going to buy. Usually that's when your FOMO hits. And on the opposite is, of course, it's dropping, I'm going to lose everything, I need to get out quickly. First of all, it's usually the worst time to sell because you're selling into weakness, and you never want to be a slave to your emotions. So yeah, this has definitely rinsed a lot of traders. Bitcoin traders have realized over 100 billion in losses in the past 6 weeks. Crypto Quant's data shows that many traders exited at an average loss of 7 to 9% per transaction. And of course, uncertainty contributed to the sell-off, including fears of the Federal Reserve rate hike and SEC delays. The SEC will delay the ETFs. I mean, there's no point in launching anything in this market, by the way, whether it's ETFs, tokens. We've delayed token launches because why would we launch a token today? Like, there is zero upside in launching a token today. So we all teams are delaying TGEs, so token generation events. And this is important here. Long-term holders continue to accumulate BTC. On-chain data showing record levels of supply held by investors with strong conviction. That's all you need to know. So again, you have to feel the emotion, but never be a slave to it. Moving on, Trump. I think we haven't done a single show in the past few weeks without talking about Trump, because remember what I said, Trump is the only thing that matters today when it comes to your bags. So Trump backed World Liberty Financial. So this is his DeFi project, completes a $550 million token sale. World Liberty Financial, the DeFi project linked to US President Trump, has successfully finalized its token sale, securing over $500 million in funding. So this is interesting because they've been selling coins, so selling tokens, and then they bought a lot of ETH, they bought Bitcoin, of course, Ondo. Let's see if we have the portfolio here. I don't think we do, but let's have a look here. So token sale, so they started before the election, actually. And I do believe they didn't sell a lot on the first go. I think it was underwhelming. Yes, exactly. There you go. Oh, they used my word. In response to the underwhelming demand. Yes. So, this was, again, very different to what we have now. Kamala Harris was still a potential president. So, it was, and if she had won, the crypto, what's funny is crypto prices might actually, there is a scenario where prices are better than they are today under Kamala Harris, which is actually funny. But long term, I think she would have done, of course, nothing, because it was never ever her priority to do anything about crypto. And it would have taken, the SEC would have, kept on throwing these bogus lawsuits and civil lawsuits. So it would have been more of the same, basically. Hey, Matthias here, and if you're enjoying this and want access to even more alpha, early stage deals and opportunities, and also behind the scenes insights on the markets, hit the link in the description and make sure you're subscribed. It's free and it puts you ahead of the curve. Let's get back to the show. So they did not sell much in October, and then of course Trump won, and now they raised 550 million. Team is Trump, so all the Trump family, basically, a few outsiders too, but very interesting to see the, again, demand, interest, right? That's what we want to know. So political influence on the crypto market, of course, and quick facts here. The public sale began in October, and then, oh yes, Tron. So Justin's son is also bought in. He's so good at PR. He always he's always tweeting about buying something. Whenever there's something like for sale, he's like, Tron is open to buying this. Please reach out to me. It's pretty amazing. Good PR. Good game. So that's the update here. Again, this is bullish. Why? Because he's the president. I mean, he literally buys crypto. We've never had this. So we'll see about price action, but in the mid to long term, I think we're gonna look back at these prices, and I can't wait for one of you guys to say, "Shit, if only I had bought more, Matthias. Why didn't you tell me to buy?" I said, I'm not telling you to buy. I'm just saying that when there's max fear, that's when smart investors buy. You get to pick what you do with your money. So Kathy Wood yesterday bought quite a bit of Bitcoin. She was extremely influential in the previous cycle, a bit less this cycle. I remember some of her tweets literally just pumping Bitcoin in the previous cycle. She's been a Tesla bull for years. So she is one of the biggest names in the hedge fund space, runs several funds, and yeah, bought $80 million worth of Bitcoin. It's good. She's kind of notorious for having either great calls or horrendous calls. So I think I saw a story where several of her funds were down like hundreds of millions of dollars. So she definitely is not like the number one indicator, but she's always been very bullish for new technologies, Tesla bull, and very, very, very interesting and smart person too. So again, I'm not surprised to see some of these, and she's when it comes to institutions, she's definitely more on the OG side than many of the funds buying today. So interesting to see that she's looking at between 79 and 80K and bought. Of course, she has a lot of pull in the industry, in the hedge fund space. So this is again bullish. Jesus, I selected these headlines. I forgot we have like so much XRP stuff today. And by the way, I'm not an XRP bull. I think it'll do well, but I'm kind of neutral XRP. But again, a lot of these, you can see a lot of the ETF work being done now. You can see a Solana ETF in the works right now. We talked about that. I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago about the SEC delaying that the decision, which is normal. I have no doubt. We have of course, the BTC ETF, ETH, and then you go down the list. It's going to be XRP, Solana. I wouldn't be surprised to see the main top 10, maybe 12. There's actually even I think there was a Doge ETF in the works. So I would not be surprised eventually to see even the top 15 to 20 US coins by market cap at some point having an ETF or having serious talks about an ETF. Of course, this would happen after the lawsuit. So this is probably a few months away. But yeah, there's moves. I'm ready to log formal prediction. BlackRock will file both Solana and XRP ETFs. Solana is clear, so they can move any day, of course, and the XRP one would be after the lawsuit. So you should be happy if you're holding XRP, because at some point, and the one thing with XRP is they know how to market, right? They're OGs in crypto. They know how to market. They know how to pump the price. So I have no doubt XRP will do well. This was an interesting headline because for those who have been following the FTC crash, who had money FTX, U.S. court approves 3 Hours Capital's $1.5 billion claim expansion against FTX. So the story goes, so FTX is basically a centralized exchange that went to zero, and this guy, so SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, was the brain behind it, founder of Alameda, founder of FTX, and he's in jail now. I think he got, was it 15 or 20 years? Can someone look it up? I think it was around 20 years. I'm not sure. And Su Zhu is the co-founder of 3 Arrows, so a crypto trading firm. And what happened was, so they had to wait. So basically, the way bankruptcy works is, bankruptcy, we talked about bankruptcy lawyers and what they do. They go in, they look at the books, they try to make sense of the mess. And so they've been working on FTX for years now. And so now there's clarity, apparently, like literally in the last few days, there's clarity on the books, the FTX books. And so now 3 Arrows apparently now had a suit against FTX and was a creditor. And now looking at more at the books in more detail, it seems like FTX, the story is that FTX owes 3 Arrows much more. And let's look at the numbers. I think it started around 100 million. Now it's up to 1.5 billion. Let's have a look. A US bankruptcy court has granted liquidators of defunct hedge fund 3 Arrows Capital, run by this guy, Suzu, permission to expand their claim against the bankrupt exchange FTX to $1.5 billion. The ruling, issued by Judge Dorsey of the Bankruptcy Court of Delaware, comes after 3AC's liquidators argued that delays in obtaining critical financial records from FTX hindered their ability to file a more comprehensive claim earlier. So basically, they have new information and they realize now that they are owed more money. On June 3rd, 2024, counsel for 3 Arrows reached out to debtors counsel again with new requests, but debtors counsel stopped responding on July 2nd. After a month of silence, 3 Arrows counsel emailed FTX's counsel attaching proposed discovery requests. And so basically they were stonewalling them. So what's interesting here is, with billions of dollars in claims already filed against FTX, this latest ruling adds further complexity to the ongoing bankruptcy proceedings. And I do believe it was in the region of, yeah, so what happened, so FTX went to zero, right? 3 Arrows, so the connection between the lore is deep here. 3 Arrows, run by this guy, FTX, run by this guy, and Luna, which I'm sure we'll have articles about Luna at some point, because Do Kwon is either has been extradited or is getting extradited to the US soon. And the judgment is definitely for this year trial. So 3 Arrows lent money to Voyager. Voyager was a publicly listed, not centralized exchange. They had an app. I think they had a web app too, where you could trade, you could get staking rewards, you could stake and get and earn on your crypto that you deposited. And 3 Arrows was a big lender to Voyager Digital. When Luna went to zero, when FTX went to zero, Voyager, so 3 Arrows could not fulfill the debt. And so, which put Voyager Digital here, the expanded claim by 3AC could further complicate the distribution of funds to FTX creditors, because Voyager Digital, BlockFi, and Celsius, who were all tied to 3 Arrows, are also seeking compensation. So the CEO of Voyager Digital, Steve Ehrlich, is I wonder if we can I'm going to ping the team to put a story together about Steve Ehrlich, because it's interesting for everyone to know that. Let's have a look here in the news. So Voyager Digital co-founder is sued by US regulators for fraud. No joke. He was a we'll put something together. Probably I'm going to ping the team about this. He is charged a year ago by U.S. regulators with fraud, making false claims. I remember because I had a friend who was on the marketing team at Voyager, so I have some information about how it was sold, more than I could share publicly. And so Voyager basically went on, and you can find this probably on YouTube and streams. The CEO of Voyager went and did all these live streams and said, we are FDIC backed and guaranteed. So your deposits are basically guaranteed and protected under the FDIC scheme. Is it the FDIC and the... let me have a look here. So it was basically the CEO went and guaranteed deposits when the company... Yes, FDIC. So the SEC charges former executive with falsely claiming consumers' deposits were insured by FDIC. It's like if someone says, hey, give me your money. It's protected by, it's covered by, it's insured by FDIC. And so he went on TV, he went on YouTube, he went on streams, he went on interviews with Kay Wells, and he, it's on the record. That's a problem. And so Three Arrows was a lender to Voyager. And so when Three Arrows could not repay, of course, Voyager went to zero. And the CEO is now charged with fraud. So the CEO of, it's a whole shit show. CEO of Voyager is now charged with fraud. So we'll see what happens. And again, this is something interesting because we talked about this the other day. These bankruptcy cases take years, up to 5 to 10 years sometimes to first of all, to understand the numbers, and then to find the money, to claw back the money. And it's always a shit show. There is no such thing as a quick bankruptcy. And the main party that makes money, it's the lawyers. A U.S. bankruptcy court approved 3 Arrows' request to expand its claim against FTX to $1.5 billion. And yes, it's complicated because that means that basically, hey, these guys were owed $100 million. Oh, by the way, no, they're owed now $1.5 billion, which is right. It might be right? And so what happens to all the guys over there who are owed money now, right? So again, it's always messy. It sucks because I think FTX had such a good thing going on, in the sense that they could have done well, and they just fucked it up. Quick story here about CZ. So yesterday we talked about the Binance, like the Binance.us story that the Trump family was interested in buying a stake in Binance.us. And actually then CZ went on Twitter and then said no. So former Binance CEO CZ has publicly denied claims that he is seeking a deal with Trump to secure a presidential pardon. No discussions, no pardon. I actually read this tweet yesterday, so I won't repeat it. But yeah, basically it was a story where it was a Wall Street Journal story. So you would expect them to actually get their facts straight. But it's funny how the mainstream media is just so, the quality has dropped. When I was growing up, like in the late 90s, 2000s, all these mainstream media, they were institutions, right? The Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, CNN, and it's like the amount of shit they get wrong or literally fabricate is wild. So the only media you can actually trust now is basically what we do now, like straight from, either citizen journalists on Twitter. As you can see, there's a lot of Twitter is really, I'd say, the hive for citizen journalism, or straight from the source. And anonymous sources don't count because anyone can make up an anonymous source. Long story short here, there is no story or no truth to this. what I said yesterday is we'll see. I definitely see I definitely see a possibility of Binance.us coming up and relaunching, because why not? You have a pro crypto US president. We'll have clarity about just crypto and regulation very soon. So I think it would be kind of a no-brainer. Depends on how Binance wants to lead its a global strategy, but I think it would be bullish for the US to have Binance.us. Just again, a new way of onboarding, an extra way of onboarding new users. Coinbase, Brian. Coinbase CEO says more governments are adopting crypto after US Reserve move. Yeah, we talked about this. We talk about this almost every day now, about game theory, right? So we talked about last week, the president of Belarus literally told his team to look into mining Bitcoin with the excess energy they have in the country. And you have countries like Bhutan that bought Bitcoin. You have El Salvador, of course. You have the Gulf countries. You have the US, of course. And so when you have big tier 1 countries, global powers like the US buying crypto and making it easier, you have other countries moving. So it's that what's that meme with the Forrest Gump meme where he's running across the country and he's like the first mover, and behind him you have like hundreds of people waiting for his next move. That's basically what the US is. Countries are watching the US, openly disclosing that they're watching the US, and this is super bullish because if you want adoption and you want clarity in Web3, which will bring Web2 and tech to Web3, you want the US to be pro crypto and because it pushes other countries to want to compete with them too. Speaking of Coinbase, we also have some memes that got delisted in the last 24 hours. Floki, Turbo, and Giga. They still have, so they have a bunch of memes too. I think Bonk is still trading. I think, what other news is trading on Coinbase? Coinbase customer support has been horrendous over the last year and a half. So I don't use them. And honestly, until they improve customer service, I will not recommend them. So Floki got delisted. What else? Let's have a look. Turbo and GigaChad. Of course, the problem is when for those coins is as soon as they get delisted, they usually drop, especially when you delist in a bearish market. So, RIP to holders. I didn't look at the chart, but it's usually not good news when you get delisted. Moving on, because we have to wrap this up in 1 minute. I think we'll be 5 minutes late, but better than yesterday. Binance CEO Trump's policies ushering in a golden era of cryptocurrency. Again, yet another bullish crypto headline. Binance CEO Richard Tang believes President Trump's pro-crypto stance could set off a global regulatory shift. We talk about this every day. So if you guys are panicking, this is why I wanted to show you guys this, specifically this article. There's no reason to panic. I'm here to calm you guys down. Who's panicked, by the way? If you guys are stressing out, type in 1. It's like the helpline, the hotline. If you're in deep panic, type in 1. There is no reason to panic. If you're leveraged and you don't know what you're doing, and you're down and you're short today, like if you're short today or from yesterday, you're wrecked, right? Again, very hard to leverage trade this market. But in the mid to long term, there is really, in my view, and the people around me, there is no reason to panic. The space is growing. Yes, this phase sucks. Your bags are down 50, 60, 80, sometimes 90%. Yeah, I mean, we've seen pullbacks. Also, I do think that the 4-year cycle The idea of this is actually I wanted to discuss this, but we won't have time to go too much into that today. The idea of the traditional 4-year cycle, 2 years off, 2 years on, 2 years off, 2 years on. We might be seeing, and we are seeing, technically, we are literally seeing a change in market structure. So what we saw in 2017, 2018, then during COVID, I think people just want to use old theories and like a completely different set of elements and different historical, literally different historical context to illustrate or explain what's going on. This cycle is different. I said this even last year when Trump won. Was it 4 months ago? We've never seen a pro crypto US president. We now see, forget about the price, look at the fundamentals. We have never seen a desire to throw bogus lawsuits away and drop these cases. We see this every day with the SEC. We can really see action. We can see that there is something new coming up in crypto. There's going to be more regulation. There's going to be clear regulation, is what I'm saying. We have never seen this. There's a lot bigger players coming in to the space, the BlackRocks of the world. Dozens of other big firms are moving in the space and will deploy. That's happening. It's never happened. I mean, it did not happen in 2017. So when people say, nothing changes, or you think this time is different, it's like it really is different, bro. You've never seen a US president buying Bitcoin and crypto and selling coins. Like we saw today that World Liberty Financial sold $500 million of tokens. It's never happened. We've never seen the SEC wanting to bring clarity to the space. So yes, it is different. And so the cycles, the old theory of the 4-year cycle is changing in front of our eyes. If you look at the previous cycle, it was very different with COVID because of liquidity. We saw what is 25-30% of new dollars printed during COVID, during the pandemic. Within 12 to 24 months, that has changed. And so it is different. So it's up to you to adapt. And so this is, again, there is no need to panic when you look at this stuff. It will be tougher to make money. There will be fewer opportunities. That's something that I will say too. You will have to pick and choose your opportunities, your pre-sales, your tokens more. You will have to actually pay more attention. Not everything will pump at the same time, but the space is here to stay. There will always be huge opportunities, asymmetrical opportunities. And we'll also see these periods, especially now, like we're seeing in the last few weeks, where a lot of uncertainty in the markets. And of course, crypto being such a risk-on asset class. When the economy does better, when the economy has more certainty, this will rip. And please remember what I'm saying, because you will regret not buying the coins at the prices that you're looking at now, or DCAing because of fear. But the industry is heading in the right direction. And when I say the right direction, again, we don't have time today to say if it's good or bad, decentralization, blah, blah, blah. But overall, the industry is not going to zero when you see all these headlines. This is actually not a good piece of news to end on, but we'll end with this one. Trump threatens escalation in trade war amid EU and Canadian retaliation. We talked about this. I mean, this is something that we talked about the flip-flopping, right? So he'll go in and say, oh, 25%, then he'll drop it. Then other countries come in and say, oh, we'll match the tariffs. And then he comes back and says, whatever they charge us, we're charging them. So this is happening. This is not ending tomorrow, by the way. This might take at least a few weeks from everything I'm hearing too. This will not be solved once and for all quickly. There's the debt, right? There's the of course the interest rates, the debt, QE. There's a lot of different things here. If Trump can pull it off, the markets will soar. But we're still in the tunnel here. There's not this is not a thing of just waiting a few days. Let's have a look if there is a headline about Europe. I saw that, yes, Trump has threatened additional tariffs on EU goods, including on wine and champagne. I saw that yesterday. The EU plans to impose tariffs on approximately $28 billion worth of U.S. goods, targeting products like bourbon and motorcycles. In April, Canada, of course, retaliates and says we'll also up tariffs, and market reactions, of course, are cautious. Nothing new. I just thought it was funny that, I think he went on. I saw a Trump tweet about champagne and French wine. So, he just has a way with words. It's actually very funny. So that being said, guys, we're at 106. Let's refresh here. I think we'll call it a day and a week for this week. Let's have a look at the bubbles. 84K. Sometimes we move $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 Bitcoin in during a show. So look, Trump is at, of course it pumped 15% because of world liberty. Good bubbles today. Again, be cautious. Don't overtrade. Be careful with leverage. DCAing is a pretty good place to DCA right now. I think I would not be surprised, by the way, if this continues. So if the tariffs back and forth and let's call it the I think war is too strong a word, but the tariffs issue with other countries, Canada, of course, EU, we could see this for weeks. If uncertainty continues, I definitely think that we could see mid to low 70s. That's talked about that today with a friend who's also in TradFi. I think minus like 10-15% Bitcoin is possible. So just brace. If we hit mid 70s, I'll say I called it. But at the same time, if we don't, all good. I do think that in the context of just crypto and Bitcoin being such a risk-on asset, if we see uncertainty, it's we'll drop. Simple as that. That's kind of my view. I think that what Trump is doing with the U.S. economy is a high risk move, but if it works, it would be amazing. I definitely think that there's a lot that they are trying to do by renegotiating the debt, of course, along with tariffs, yes. And then I saw something yesterday about if they balance the budget, they might. This is maybe you guys who are in America, you might have seen this. Lutnick, so Trump's money guy, said, "Hey, if we balance the budget, we might actually basically stop and for anyone making under $150,000 would not be paying income tax anymore." So they're thinking of literally removing income tax, which would be super bullish. But the big if is if the budget is balanced. Big if. Again, we'll see in the immediate future now, in the coming days and weeks. We'll have to see what happens with these tariffs. I think it's back and forth. If we see the stock market, especially big tech, dropping, I think Bitcoin drops to mid 70s. If we do drop to mid 70s, it's fine. I mean, you'll have more opportunities to and longer to accumulate basically good projects at very low prices. And I think that the whole thing, if we think of Trump always wanting to win, I talked about this the other day in the article I wrote. Let me send this over. Where is this? Trump. Trump. If we kind of think of how Trump thinks and historically how he operates, he just likes to win. So there's no way he wants to end his 4 years with a down market. Now, is it going to take 4 years to see the next cycle? Probably not. But I think for the next few weeks, mid-70s is possible. Don't get shaken out. If you have good positions, don't panic sell. If you have cash on the side, it's a good time to DCA in. You'll never nail the exact bottom. You can look at adding to your positions now, and I think that overall, again, the industry is we're definitely trending in the right direction. Again, this might take a few weeks, maybe a few months, maybe. I don't want to be bearish with you guys, but I just want to keep it real. It all depends on what happens on the US side with the economy and uncertainty versus certainty when it comes to tariffs. I think tariffs are definitely, when it comes to the order of priority, it's really tariffs, certainty. I think the war, but the ceasefire announced yesterday between Russia and Ukraine is a plus. It's good. Hopefully they find something positive. I saw that Russia's wanting a bit more from not just the ceasefire, but as a peace agreement. We'll see about that. But I definitely think that the U.S. economy is definitely the number one driver of the Bitcoin price and your coins right now. So that being said, guys, another week in the books. Thank you for joining. We will be on Monday. Touch grass this weekend. Have fun. Do something else. I also said this in some of the groups. If you can, just pick up a hobby, do something else. There's really no point in watching the charts all day, especially when it's kind of like choppy down and then a day up. And then be careful this weekend. We might see it chop down. Weekends are always super hard to trade. Touch grass, pick up a hobby, learn a new language, read a new book. I'm halfway through not the Odyssey, the Iliad. I'm halfway through the Iliad. So I bought the books. It's basically a big ass brick, right? It's like 700 pages. And then I was like, I like reading paper books, but I have trouble actually finding time and sitting like on the couch and reading the book. I'm much better at listening. So I was like, fuck it. I bought the Iliad and the Odyssey because Chris Nolan they're shooting the Odyssey right now with an amazing cast, unbelievable cast, like Matt Damon, Tom Holland. Let's have a look. Zendaya's into the Iliad Nolan cast. So, Robert Pattinson, John Bernthal, Zendaya, Anne Hathaway. Who else? Matt Damon, Elliot Page, Charlize Theron, Lupita Nyong'o, John Leguizamo, Josh Stewart. Insane cast. So I was like, that's one of my favorite stories because I remember reading like the simplified version in school when I was younger. And I've always loved the epic stories and movies. So like, it's always been on my bucket list to read the Iliad and the Odyssey, the full text. So I was like, okay, I bought the book, and then I was like, it's like 1,500 pages of poems to read. And it's not an easy read, but I just love the story. And so I got the audiobook, and I've been listening to the audiobook. I do basically an hour on the treadmill every day at 2x speed. So I walk for half an hour. I do usually like 15 minutes warm up, and then 15 minutes to cool down at 2x speed. That's like an hour every day. So I'll be done by the end of next week with, next week I'll be done for sure with the Iliad, and then the Odyssey is about I'd say another 700 pages. So that's another 12 to 15 hours. So by the time the movie comes out, which should be summer 2026, I will have read both, or listened, but read, because it really is read. Like you actually have to focus. You can't be working out listening to the Iliad. It's a heavy book to read. Not as heavy as like the Shakespeare books, but or plays, but they're poems. A lot of stories, hundreds of characters. You have to read the story. It's not just about reading the story. Actually, you have to understand the map of Greece and Turkey, and it's I just love that part of the world. So anyway, pick up a book or an audiobook. Go for a hike, walk on a treadmill, do something else. Don't watch the charts, because there is no upside right now in just being glued to the screen, especially if you're not trading it. So that being said, guys, have a nice weekend. We will be on Monday, same time. I think we have a guest. We have 2 guests next week. I'll just drop here the I want to send you guys the article, not the article, but the story. I think the team finished this. Videos. This was a very good show that we pre-recorded with Adam. Oh, there you go. This was good. All right, let me put this in the chat here. I think you'll really like this, just because it's a very good view on institutions and how they think. So, and I'll just type institutions CoinRock show. All right, so watch this one. This was very good. We have next week 2 guests. One is going to be pre-recorded, and one is going to be live, I believe. And I think that's it, guys, for today. Have a good weekend. Take care of your health, and we will be back on Monday. Hey, thanks for watching. If you got value from this episode, you're going to love what's coming next. So subscribe now. We drop new episodes and videos several times a week, featuring power players, market movers, and insiders from the financial world. And if you want access to deals and insights we only share privately, hit the links in the description, and we'll see you on the next show.